Welcome back to the Meal Prep in a Jar series. So I am moving on, and this is going to be chicken chili. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am doing chicken chili in a jar, so this is going to be a convenience meal. I have most of the stuff prepared. Felt like you didn't really need to see me chopping onions again. Most of the recipes, it seems, call for onions, so I have found that it takes approximately one medium-sized onion to make 1 cup diced. So obviously it depends on how fine you're dicing your onion, but that's about it. And then a small-ish bell pepper will get you about 1 cup of diced pepper. So I was able to, nicely enough, harvest a pepper off of my Aerogarden, and that is what we have here. So I also had some tomatoes in the freezer that I was planning on canning, but I could just save myself the step and the jar and the lid, and I just cut up some frozen tomatoes that I had, and I will be using that for the tomato portion. So lots of things are getting used up, which is really nice, and I will have some meals on my shelf for later, for those busy days, or the days when people are sick and no one feels like cooking. So part of this is I am trying to explore some more convenience meals. I am normally an ingredient canner, and I like that. I like to be able to have the flexibility, but at the same time it is nice to be able to open something. So when I make baked beans or meat pie, I can just open that up and pretty much eat it almost the way it is. Obviously I need to turn the meat pie filling into meat pie, but you know, for the most part, it's really handy. It's nice to have that available. So I'm trying to branch out and find more meals that more people will like. So I am cutting up 4 pounds of chicken into 1-inch cubes. I have soaked my beans overnight. I soaked them with a little bit of vinegar to hopefully help with the toots, which I didn't really find it helped that much, but you know what? If it helps a little bit, then it's probably worth doing. They are currently on the stove right now. I will be bringing those up to a boil and letting them boil for 1 minute before just turning it off. You could go up to 2 minutes, but not more than that because you don't want them to get too mushy. There is some simmering time for the sauce, so don't worry about your beans being a little more on the firm side than usual. They will get simmered. Okay, once my beans are finished with their boil time, and I have finished, well, they'll need to get drained, and then I'm going to finish working on this, I will bring you back to show you how all of this comes together. Okay, my beans are done. You let them go for about a minute or two. If you have a pasta pot, it makes it really easy to rinse them and drain them at the same time. So I have all of my chicken cut up. It is time to brown the meat. Calls for a 1/4 cup of olive oil. Might need slightly more than that. If you notice your pan getting dry, just add a little bit more. I am on a medium-high heat, which is what it says to do the browning at, but I did find, so if you watched my beef chili recipe, I did the exact same technique, but I did find I had to sort of play with the temperature a little bit, and the pan did dry out, so I did have to add like a touch more oil. But it is pretty much, it's going to be the almost exact same recipe. It's the same technique. The only thing I am doing is I'm going to omit the chipotle peppers. I found that it worked okay with the beef, but I don't think it's going to work as well with the chicken. I might be wrong. Maybe it'll work really well, but I didn't care for it as much with the beef. So I am going to omit it, and if I feel like it needs it, I can add it back after to each jar. So I'm going to get this hot, and then I will start doing the browning. Now, in the meantime, while I'm waiting for my oil to heat up, I need to season the meat. In this case it's chicken. I need to season it with a teaspoon of pepper and a tablespoon of salt. And this is a canning salt or a pickling salt, so it shouldn't go cloudy when it is canned. Sometimes there are things added to the salt that can cause it to discolor or cloud in the canning process. Now this should hopefully be a pretty versatile recipe. We use chicken chili for a lot of things. We use it for nachos. I mean, we eat it as chili. So we eat it like plain, or I have eaten it with rice in the past. I love rice with my chili. It's also a good meal stretcher. If you need to stretch a meal, add a starch to it. And let that sit and brown. I'm going to keep an eye on the temperature, and then I will pull it out to a bowl to rest while I finish the rest of the chicken. And that's pretty much that. I will just start running through all the chicken, scooping it out as it browns, and I will bring you back when it's time for the next step. Okay, that is that for the chicken, and now it is time to put in the onions, 2 cups of that, diced up, and 1 cup of red pepper. Now, the fun part with the red pepper is, and this is actually on the USDA website, as a suggested thing you can do, is any pepper can be used for the pepper requirement. So if you want to put in hot peppers or anything you want, you can mix the peppers with different varieties so you can get a different flavor profile. That is perfectly acceptable, as long as you remain within the quantity listed in the recipe. So, since I'm not putting chipotle peppers in, I could have put in like jalapeno or something mixed in with my bell pepper just to give it a little extra something. But I'm not going to do that this time. Mostly I want to keep the recipe the way it is, as close as it is in the book, but I want to make sure that my kids can have a chance to enjoy it too. Now my pan is really dry and I don't want this burning to the bottom, so I'm just going to put in the tiniest little touch of olive oil just to help keep things moving. I'm also going to turn the temperature down, and I'm going to let the onions and peppers sit in one spot for a little while so that the moisture that they produce will kind of seep out and it'll help release some of that fond that's stuck to the bottom of the pan. I really want to get that caramelized stuff off the bottom because that's where a lot of the flavor is going to be, and it's going to make for a more flavorful chicken chili. And that goes with anything. That doesn't just go with canning recipes. Okay, while I wait for that to release, I need to squeeze my limes and get some lime juice ready so that I can just throw everything in all at once. Now I already pre-rolled these. You can also throw them in the microwave. That can sometimes help get them a little extra juicier. I don't know if I've ever tried the microwave trick before, but I generally just roll them. These ones actually felt pretty juicy when I bought them. And just give it a squeeze. So I need a 1/4 cup of juice. The recipe does say a 1/4 cup is approximately 3 limes. So that is why I bought 3 limes and felt comfortable just opening them all up. Boy, these are really juicy. Maybe I should have only done 2. Okay, well if I have any leftover lime juice, I will just put it in the fridge for later or the freezer. I feel like it's okay to put in like an extra teaspoon, but I don't want to put in like a whole ton of extra. Okay, yeah, that produced me a 1/2 cup of juice, so I will measure that out. I will only use a 1/4 cup of it, and let's see how this is. Ooh, my pan is dry. Okay, so let's just move on to the next step. Okay, I'm going to put the chicken in. I'm going to get the juices from the chicken in. That should also help get some of that. Oh yeah, there we go. Six cups of diced tomatoes. So this is 4. And these were tomatoes I had in the freezer that I had cored and de-seeded. Plus 2 cups of, this is just crushed tomato. I don't have diced tomato. I just do crushed because it's just so much easier. And my drained beans. Now because I used the tomatoes from the freezer, I am going to have to simmer this just a little longer to help release some of the juices from it. Because otherwise, I don't know if you can tell, this is really dry. But those tomatoes that I put in that were from the freezer, they will let their juices out, and this will get a lot looser. Okay, so this needs, the recipe calls for 10 minutes. I will probably give it 20 just because of the frozen tomatoes. Okay. finally, my 1/4 cup of lime juice. Now you would also add your chipotle peppers, your finely chopped chipotle peppers at this stage too. That's pretty much it. I will bring you back when this has simmered down a little bit and I'm ready to put it in the jars. In the meantime, I will get my jars heating because now is the perfect time to do that while this is simmering and warming up. Okay, my jars have warmed up and everything is ready to go. I am actually going to add probably about a teaspoon of smoked paprika. This will actually simulate the flavor of the missing chipotles and adobo sauce. But I'm only adding a little bit so it doesn't overwhelm. I felt like it was more overwhelming with the beef than, I mean, the chicken doesn't have anything in it. So this is more a blank slate, which I think will make it a lot more, you know, universal to use for various things. But I think just having a little touch of that smoke flavor will also go a long way as well. It's something I probably would have put in, honestly, anyways in my own chicken chili. So I would also add cumin and cilantro, but we're not doing that. So we're just going to add just a touch of the smoked paprika just to replace a little bit of the smoky adobos. Okay, it is time to fill jars. So now the chicken has had a chance to simmer and cook, so I should hopefully be okay with 1-inch headspace. I noticed that the ones with the raw pack, I was definitely getting a lot of squeeze out. So it might be worth, if you are doing a raw pack, definitely give it a little extra space. Okay. There we go. We're just going to make a mess on the counter. Okay, well, I ended up with an 11th jar and a little bit left over, so your mileage may vary on how much your 9-jar batch will actually make. So I'm not quite sure what to do with such a small amount of sauce because the beans aren't fully cooked. I might save it and put it in the freezer, and I don't know, if I ever make this again, I guess I could add it to it, but that's where we're at. So I will show you how all this turns out after it has been canned, and then I will show you how to use it as well. That, I think, is the more important thing, is how to use some of these, because sure, you can just eat some of these straight from the jar, but I also want to show you that you can do other things with it, and that's kind of for me as well, because I want to try different things as well. So stay tuned. And this is the chicken chili. This is how it turned out. I like to have mine on rice. It turned out pretty much the same as the beef. I did add in a little bit of smoked paprika and cumin just to make sure it had some flavor, considering how I skipped the chipotle peppers and adobo sauce. But yeah, this is pretty much what our chicken chili is like, if you have watched my chicken chili recipe video. I did add some corn to the pot while I was heating it up so I could cook that in there, and yeah, this turned out really good. This I think is the one that I really want to have more on the shelf of, because this is something we eat quite frequently. So this is a really good meal for us. So this was a winner. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll have more videos up at the end that you might enjoy, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.